I did want to get into this, the illegal cannabis up in Mendocino County, because again, this is something that like another story. We had Jorge Ventura on a couple weeks ago. He did some news on this as well. This is something that's not really talked about in California, about the sort of illicit activities that are going on around cannabis and these illegal grows right under our nose. And Rob Bonta is out there, parading around San Francisco talking about Trump proofing California. It's like, oh, we got bigger fish to fry. We got cartels operating in our backyard, Chinese and Mexican. Like, we should probably look into that. Tell us a little bit about these illegal grows up in Mendocino County.
Yeah, I'm a depressing guest. I'm just telling you all this terrible stuff.
No, this stuff is fascinating. We love when we have guests who educate us. So,
well, and if your guests, I can't see the live stream, but if they have any questions about the Potter Valley Project, I do want to make sure that like they can go to my website to look at that up, or I'm happy to address it. Whatever. I know there's some common misconceptions I keep seeing, so I want to address it because I think it does impact California, and I think we all have stake in it. So, but to shift gears quickly, the cannabis issue, I did a documentary last year because we actually lost a member of our community, an elderly rancher named Dick Drury, who was shot in the head, 85 years old, right outside his ranch, and his murder was unsolved. So we went home to look into it. The common belief in our community was that it was a cartel hit because that's what it looked like. And that's what it seemed to be. And he was in an area that was pretty hot for cartel grows, for organized crime grows. And that's just really become, unfortunately, part of the culture of the North Coast, the Emerald Triangle, Humboldt, Trinity, and Mendocino counties. We have an enormous influx of organized crime, drug trafficking organizations who have really put down roots and are operating in, without really any checks and balances or any attention from the state government. I interviewed Mendocino County Matt Kendall, who is an amazing guy. He'd be a great guest for you. He is just the real deal, this like cowboy sheriff who is very understaffed for the amount of land that he has to cover out there in Mendocino County. And he told me Gavin Newsom has never returned his phone calls. I mean, he's been shot at multiple times. He comes into these cartel grows all the time. And it's scary. I've ridden my horse into the middle of a cartel grow. I assume it's a cartel grow because they're massive and they're in the middle of the national forest. So I might be out hunting or hiking or on my horse or whatever. And you just come into a huge grow in the middle of our public land, our shared, this resource that's supposed to belong to us. They've got drip systems. I know people are watching it. I know they're armed. You'll see dead animals just around the outskirts of the grow. They kill anything that they see. These are scary people. So we've had, not just from South and Central America, but also from Eastern Europe, Bulgaria. And I guess what I spoke to one sheriff in Humboldt County who told me the group that's winning the cartel wars in Northern California right now, believe it or not, are the Chinese. They have the biggest presence. So they have these huge industrial grows in Siskiyou, Trinity counties, where they're just producing black market weed that does end up in our legal dispensaries. They've run tests. A lot of this black market stuff is still ending up in your legal dispensary, and it has nasty chemicals in it. So I do think just from a consumer standpoint, if people smoke or they use weed, they should know that a lot of this stuff is really unsafe. And it's being produced on the black market using human labor. That's a whole other aspect of this. There's a lot of people coming across our formerly pretty open border and getting put into indentured servitude on these grow sites. And they really don't have a choice and they're forced to do it. So it's a human rights issue as well. So all that to say, we went home to kind of look into the case, see what we could find out. We did a short documentary. My sister, Michaela, was my co-director, and then our crew, Graham Kelly and Ryan Francis, just the four of us, went home and just we wanted to raise awareness so people could see at least a little glimpse into what's going on in Northern California and how bad the problem has gotten. And also just bring justice to this man who was a really wonderful pillar of our community and who didn't deserve this and did not have any answers and still doesn't have justice. No one's been arrested to this day.
Yeah.
So
it's fascinating that they kind of bring it full circle. They want to push the ranchers and farmers who were on Point Reyes for over 100 years, who've been taking care of the land, keeping it pristine, making it a beautiful place to go visit. They want to push them out. Meanwhile, there are cartels who are armed. Okay. California hates the Second Amendment. They hate people having guns. They are polluting the land by dropping a bunch of chemicals into it. Okay. So they're supposedly against pollution. They're wasting water, which is a big deal that they supposedly care about. Um, and they're selling bad products to consumers. It's all the stuff that California says they stand against. It's happening in their backyard, and they could not be bothered to like do anything about it. That's just fascinating to me.
Well, 10 hours ago, California Governor Gavin Newsom shared on social media that in 2024, 534 million in illegal cannabis was seized. Okay, so he had posted something similar on a much smaller scale last week or the week before, and I made a little reel off of it. And I think I probably didn't explain well what I was. My point was, he only cares because California didn't get its cut. Its fair share
Mm-hmm.
of taxes. I am not for illegal cannabis farms. I've never even, little Miss Goody Two Shoes here has never even tried pot marijuana edibles in any form, shape, whatever. I've never once. So I'm not even like, which I'm not telling anybody else not to. I'm just saying, like, there was nothing in me that was like defending this. It was just, I know they're just like, we didn't get our share from that. Therefore, we're going to seize this. But you also know they probably went in and, like, I don't know, chopped up a bunch of plants and then, like, they'll probably like just leave them alone for another 2 or 3 years and then be like, well, it's time to make some political movement and let's go in there and seize again. But yet they're not shutting down these farms. Like you said, they're probably not even investigating that man's death. They probably were just leaving it unsolved and leaving the area alone, and they just walked away from it. We
Mm,
seized some plants. We can make this headline, and now we'll carry on.
totally. Yeah, for the doc, I interviewed some legal growers who've made the transition. They were kind of back to the landers and they used to grow illegally and they've made that transition. And they were saying this is almost impossible. California overregulated this so much, it's barely lucrative to go legal, which really incentivizes people to stay on the black market.
Mm.
If they've been there for a minute and their competitors are murderers from other countries who have a lot of muscle. So it's, yeah, I think you're probably totally right. I imagine much of the illegal weed that was seized was probably smaller farmers who didn't do all of the necessary steps or didn't sign all the paperwork and they got their crop seized. Meanwhile, there's the last estimate I heard was 6,000 illegal grows on public land in the US, and
Wow.
nobody's doing anything about that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was promised to us as a new green rush or a new gold rush, but green
Yeah.
rush. And I remember I was getting out of law school and I thought this has got to be a great area of law to get into because it's going to be so lucrative. I think once I got barred, I tried out for 2 months and I looked at it, the regulations and taxes, and said, there is no way this is profitable for anybody.
Mm.
And I gave up on it. And now here we are. I think the black market has tripled in size since we've instituted legal and recreational marijuana. Like it's now tripled, like black market marijuana. um California, it just can't help itself. It has to overregulate and overtax a good thing and like kill the golden goose before it laid one golden egg. They already killed the goose before it laid one golden egg. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip from the California Underground podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, like, share, review, comment, hit that notification bell as well. It all helps with the algorithm, helps us grow the channel, and helps support this show. Also, if you're a fan of listening to podcasts on audio, we're everywhere you can find us on audio: Spotify, Apple, Google, Podbean. I don't know. You can find them anywhere on audio. Or if you enjoy listening here on YouTube and watching the video, you can watch here as well. And if you just want to sit back and watch some more clips, you can click on this button right here. And if you want to subscribe to the show, you can click on this button right here. All right. Thanks.